24 hours until game time. We're going to go over the matchups of Boston College and Rutgers, who we have winning this game, and everything you want to know for tomorrow's matchup. All of this and more on today's Locked On Boston College.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Friday, everyone. I hope you are ready for tomorrow's matchup between Boston College and Rutgers. We are really excited. We've had 5 great episodes now of Locked On BC talking all about Saturday's matchup. So you're going to want to make sure that you have checked out everything that we have to offer. All right. So the purpose of today's show is we're going to go over each positional matchup. So the offense versus the defense, things like that, and give you our edges. This is what you're going to find out. You're going to find out, where does BC have the edge? Where does Rutgers have the edge? I'm going to give you my analysis. And I don't go with just statistics on something like this, because there's, if I was to say BC's passing attack and just use last year's passing numbers, they look like they're completely inept. But it's very different, a very different group out there than what we saw last year. So the first segment, we're going to look at Rutgers against BC's defense, and I'll give you my thoughts on that. So the first part is we're going to look at BC's passing attack against Rutgers quarterbacks and their passing attack. So BC had the 3rd ranked pass defense last year. Rutgers, their passing was not very good. They were near the bottom in the Big Ten in terms of passing yards. Their quarterback Vedral, who we probably will see on Saturday, threw 7 touchdowns for 7 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. They, they're not the most dangerous, but they have some weapons. Taj Harris is good. BC 3rd ranked. Okay, yeah. Rutgers was 11th. They averaged 171 yards per game. Okay. That being said, there's a piece of Rutgers that is a little bit concerning, and that's their ability to run the ball with their quarterback. And we'll get to that in the rushing component. But just strictly throwing the ball, BC has a major edge here. This is a major edge for Boston College, even though I do like what Rutgers has done to improve their passing attack. Getting Sean Ryan, getting Taj Harris, improving that wide receiver group will make them a little bit more dangerous. But that being said, BC against mediocre to below average. I mean, Rutgers is 11th in the SEC Big Ten last year. They're not going to all of a sudden become really good. BC has been consistently good against those types of teams. They have been able to shut them down. So I like BC in this one. I think they're going to have the edge here. So give the first edge to Boston College. The second, we're going to look at rushing attack. Now, BC's rushing attack in terms of their defense was not good last year. They could not stop anyone. They allowed 4.5 yards per game. They were not very consistent in terms of, any running back. Sean Tucker had a big game against them. The running backs for some other programs, they did really well against BC as well. But again, Rutgers, you look at what they could do on offense, and they averaged 3.63 yards per carry. I'm going to come across, and believe me, I've made this whole week, and every single thing I say, I get yelled at by Rutgers fans. And that's okay. This is a Boston College podcast. I'm here to talk to Boston College fans. If Rutgers fans want to listen, that's fine too. Looking at the numbers, right? It's a really, really slight edge for Rutgers. Rutgers was like 89th in the country in rushing yards. BC was 91st or 92nd against the run. But, they're at home. BC, I still feel that linebacking crew is going to be a major improvement in what we saw last year. And that in itself should make Boston College's rushing defense better than last year. And I'm going to say it right now. I don't know what Rutgers has done to improve themselves. I don't know, what they, maybe there's a guy that has stepped up. I'm a Boston College podcast. I am going off what I think and what I see. I think I'm not going to give BC a huge edge here because I still am a little worried about the rushing attack, especially with what Vedral, and I'm botching his name. I got it wrong on a Rutgers podcast earlier this week. If he can move the ball with his feet too, and BC can't get to the edge and stop him, that's a major issue for me. But I'm going to give BC a slight edge here. I don't think it's a big one, but I think it's enough that BC should have an edge. I trust Tem Lokabu. I trust what Jeff Hafley can do. And I just want to remind you, today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. Now, if you're listening to this, I might sound a little different. This is actually, I'm recording this on Friday morning. I stayed up for the backyard brawl last night for Pittsburgh and West Virginia, and then fell asleep on the couch and woke up at 3 a.m. So I was like, oh crud, I got to get my predictions episode out. So it's out there now for you all. Now, in a moment, I'm going to switch sides of the ball for Boston College. I'm going to look at how their offense stacks up against a surprisingly good Rutgers defense. We'll get to that in just a moment. Now, in your life, you make choices. And are you one of those people who thinks it's okay to drive stoned? What's the worst thing that happened? You end up driving below the speed limit? That's no big deal, right? Wrong. The truth is your reaction times slow way down when you're high. You're not the only person you're putting in danger. You're putting everyone around you. Talk about a buzzkill. Stop kidding yourself. It's not okay to drive high. If you've been using marijuana in any form, do not get behind the wheel. If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high and get a DUI. Locked on Boston College, your AJ Black. You can follow me on Twitter. Make sure you do that. And if you are a fan of my work, Eagle Insider right now has an amazing deal. 75% off for an annual subscription to our site. You get all my insider information, all the premium stuff. You get to talk on our message board and get everything that you want for 75% off. You can't beat that. So head over to Eagle Insider right now and become a premium member. That deal is through this weekend. It's to get you ready for the season. So head on over right now. All right. So we're going to switch to the other side of the ball, the offense. And this is where I take last year's statistics and I lightly just toss them in the trash because Dennis Grosel is not the quarterback this year. I saw another site doing a statistical analysis of last year BC versus last year Rutgers. And I just thought like, okay, that's great. But like, why would you ever use any statistic of that passing attack? Because it was completely pointless. You had a broken Phil Jurkovec or Dennis Grosel. That's not very helpful in terms of any sort of analysis, in my opinion. But looking at this week, Jurkovec's back. He's healthy. He says he's going to play less recklessly. He says that he is 100%. This is a big time for him to figure things out. It's a big time for Jurkovec to, put himself on that national stage. This year, I feel like there has to be a chip on this kid's shoulder because you see the top 10 quarterbacks, and I see guys like Anthony Richardson and KJ Jefferson and Tyler Van Dyke. And I say, where's Phil Jurkovec? What have they done with Phil Jurkovec? This is a kid who's 6'4", 220, who can move. He's got a good arm. And yeah, he's not perfect, but we haven't seen anything out of AR-15 or Anthony Richardson in Florida yet. So don't give me that. And they haven't got behind guys like Stenson Bennett at Georgia, who I know won a national championship, but we're talking other pieces here, folks. I think this is going to be a special year for Jurkovec. Okay. He has a lot on the line, both personally and for his future. This is his chance to put together a big season, to leave his legacy, which he's talked about is something he wants to do. He has the weapons with him. Zay Flowers is another guy who's got to have a chip on his shoulder because, he was on first team all ACC. But again, you look at the list of all the top quarterback, wide receivers in the country. He's never on the list of top 10. So they got two guys here that I feel like really have something to prove. You have some solid components around him. I'm really interested to see what George Takis can do. You can't get through an episode of Locked On BC without me talking about tight ends. It's the big joke here if you haven't done that already. you do all that, right? You get, and then you add in some really intriguing backup wide receivers, Jaden Williams, Jalen Gill, Joseph Griffin, and you say to yourself, okay, this passing attack should take a massive leap forward. Now, of course, there's a massive question here. What will Jurkovec do and how will he handle pressure if that offensive line struggles? That's the $1,000,000 question about this Boston College team. I can talk about their defense, I can talk about their passing attack and rushing attack. If that offensive line is bad, none of that matters. Jurkovec is going to get flushed out of the pocket. He's going to get hit a lot, which he doesn't want to do. It's going to be a mess. I have said on this podcast that and again, what has been my term that I have used for this offensive line for their goals for this year? Serviceable. That's all they need to be, is serviceable. And it's a good challenge against Rutgers. Rutgers has a good, they had a good pass rush last year. Now, Mitch Wolf was on earlier this week. Go back and listen to his podcast, his episode on Monday, the one that really got Rutgers fans upset. He gives his analysis. They've lost a lot of their talent in that pass rush, but I trust Shiano will figure things out. He's a very good defensive coach, so I think they'll have some talent up there. That being said, this is a perfect step up opportunity for BC, an opportunity for the offensive line to say, hey, we can do this. And I think they will. I think, I've been on a bunch of not ACC, Big Ten podcasts talking about Rutgers, and a lot of Rutgers fans are saying this is going to be a ugly game. I don't think it will be for BC's offense. I think BC's offense is going to find some stuff, and I don't think the Rutgers fans are giving him enough credit. Just like Rutgers fans think I'm not giving Rutgers enough credit, which is a whole other story. I think BC's going to be able to find some things to do on offense. The BC is, for the first time, I look at this offense and I say they're well-rounded. So even if Jurkovec, who I think should be able to find some things, if he is not able to move the ball, we'll get to the second part in just a moment. They're going to be able to they're going to be able to run the ball. They're going to have options on how to attack a defense. And I think Jeff Hafley's really excited about that. John McNulty's really excited. But I said it before, Jurkovec, I again, one of my big keys has been who's going to cover Zay Flowers. Now, every Rutgers fan is telling me Max Melton's going to be able to shut down Zay Flowers. And I've been told I'm an idiot for not knowing that. Max Melton in his 62 Pro Football Focus grade is going to shut down Zay Flowers. I am not doubting Max Melton is talented. I am saying that you need an elite cornerback to shut down Zay Flowers, to completely wipe him out of the game. And this is not me doubting Max Melton. I'm just saying he's not elite yet. So prove it to me. Show me that. I haven't seen it yet. I don't think it's going to happen. So Zay Flowers is a major problem for teams this year. When you have Jurkovec throwing him the ball and not Dennis Grosel, it's a major difference in what he can do. Dennis Grosel, I don't have to tell BC fans this. You saw it last year. He couldn't get the ball to him if he tried. And it was painful to watch. The poor kid just didn't have the arm strength to do it. Jurkovec has everything. He has that. He has the touch to throw it deep. And Zay Flowers has the speed to distance himself against corners. So I like BC's chances here. I think BC has the edge. And then the running attack. BC's rushing attack last year was good. And I have said before that they deserve a lot of credit because they did it against stacked boxes. It was like the old Adazio situation where defenses were like, yeah, good luck running the ball because we ain't respecting your passing attack. And why should they? I mean, Dennis Grosel couldn't really do anything. So Rutgers last year, again, I'm just going to use their statistics from last year. They allowed 1,800 yards. They were 9th in their conference in rushing defense. BC, they were much better, against when they were running the ball. They were, they were 9th as well. Excuse me, I apologize. They averaged 4.11 yards per carry. But again, I go back to Rutgers has a new linebacking group. They lost most of their linebackers. BC has a new offensive line. You know what? I'm going to give BC an edge here again, though. And I mean, the comment section is going to kill me. And I don't care because this is what I believe. Pat Garwo is good. He's very good. He ran for 1,000 yards last year against those stack boxes. I think BC has an edge here, and that's what I'm sticking with. I think they're going to be able to find the run, and because if Rutgers starts focusing on the run, what is BC going to be able to do? They can throw the ball. They'll find Jalen Gill. They'll find George Takis, their tight end. They'll find Zay Flowers. So I think BC will have an edge in the rushing game too. Now, in a moment, you have been waiting for it. I'm going to give you my predictions for Saturday's game. We'll get to that in just a moment. This is Locked On Boston College. If you like our podcast, if you are a fan of our network, this is your second chance to check out the Ultimate Pro Football Preview 2022, an 8-episode extravaganza to get you ready for the NFL season. The local team experts on the Locked On Podcast Network, plus a betting edge angle from Lee Sterling of Locked On Bets, all combining into one ultimate NFL preview. Search for Ultimate Pro Football Preview 2022 on your Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. All right. This is the big moment here. You have been asking me all along, what is my predictions? If you've listened to some of the Rutgers shows that I've been on, I've kind of given out already, but I don't know if many of you listened to it, so I'm going to throw it out here. So I have already gone through position by position, and I've given the edge to BC. And again, a lot of it is my analysis. I've looked at what they can do, and I am not poo-pooing what Rutgers can do. This is going to be a big game for them. I said it was a Super Bowl before. Maybe it's not, but I will say it's a reasonable way to think of it, because Rutgers could really start their season off at a with some positive momentum if they win this game. And it's a old school opponent with two coaches that know each other. Shiano knows Halfley. They have coached together for years, at Rutgers and at Tampa. There's a lot of connections between these two programs. I think that's what makes it a kind of a fun matchup. And of course, there's the Big East matchup between the two of these. These are two teams that were in the Big East together. Now, BC has an 11-game winning streak against Rutgers going all the way back to 1995. And for many of you that are in college right now, that was before you were even born. So you've never even seen Rutgers beat BC. This is at home. It's during Labor Day, which it could be a hit or miss for the Eagles. Sometimes when you're at Alumni Stadium on a Labor Day weekend, it's a little quiet, but the students will all be there, I'm sure. And I think it'll be a good crowd. I'll be there. This is my one game a year that I actually attend, as not in the press box. Mitch Wolf, our great writer, is going to be covering the game. I'm going to watch it with my family because I have a bunch of BC grads in my family. We really want to go. My son is dying to see if Jeff Halfley will use a shirt cannon, which I'm trying to. He did it during the spring game. I'm like, Miles, he's not going to do it during a regular game. Anywho, this game, when I put everything together, throw all of the factors together, what do I see? It's a 7.5 point spread. 7, it's actually creeped back to 7 on some of the sites. I think if I was a betting man, and I can be at times, I would bet for BC here. I think this is more than a 7-point spread, and here's why. I think Rutgers could see some defensive success at first. I mean, you watch some of these games, right? You watched the Pitt West Virginia game last night, and it was a defensive, ugly game. Oh, it's ugly to start the game. There was just no one was doing anything, and the defense is defensive usually has that momentum to start. But then what happens? The teams get their feet underneath them, and they figure things out. So my thought, it's going to take a little bit for both teams to kind of get things going here. That, you see, Rutgers defense make a big stop or get a sack. Maybe there'll be an error on BC's offensive line. But then I expect BC to kind of hit the gas. And my biggest thing here is I do not see Rutgers having an offensive answer to what BC can do on offense. Vedral, if they go with Wimsatt or the third quarterback, you throw them all in the same bucket right now. I mean, they're all, unproven and a little raw. And that against an offense that if it's clicking, and I think it will, could put up points. Now, I am not going to go down the Mitch Wolf route and pick BC to win by 28. Mitch on Monday's show picked BC to win by 28. And again, the Rutgers fans got their hackles in a bunch. I think BC is going to win by 14. I think BC will win around 14 to 17 points. And I think there's good opportunity for some scoring here. And BC is going to show that they're not that they're a little bit ahead of where Rutgers is. And again, I do like what the Scarlet Knights have done. Greg Schiano is a perfect hire for this program. I just think they're like a year or two. If you play this game in 2025, 2024, Rutgers could be in a whole different spot, especially with that money situation that's going on with the Big Ten. I think they could be a different spot. I just think they're like 1 year behind. And that quarterback situation, I think, is the bigger issue here. So that's my predictions. Over the weekend, you'll get all my analysis up on Eagle Insider. You will get a Locked On episode for Monday morning. I'm going to have everything. So make sure to follow me on all your social media. I'm at AJ_BC. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see right there. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Speaking of subscriptions, go to Eagle Insider right now and get that 75% off deal. Become a premium member. We have analysis of games, analysis of, all the roster stuff. And I have, all the recruiting information, plus a message board with tons of premium information on it. 75% off for the year. It is less than a cup of coffee a month. Like, it is dirt cheap. Get in there and get that deal right now. All right. We'll be back on Monday. Can't wait to talk about this game. College football is back, folks. We'll see you again soon.